ठीक है. Okay. Should I start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening, all of you. I hope I am audible. Okay. I am audible. Yes. I am audible. Na? And my screen is visible. Okay. Good. So today we will be discussing about publishing your article in a reputed publisher. Okay. So in this particular lecture, okay, we will be discussing how to publish and where to publish. Okay, these two are very important aspect. Okay, so first of all we need to understand where to publish. Okay, and then we need to also consider that how to publish, that it means how we should write so that it can be easily published. Okay, so we will be discussing about this thing in this particular lecture. Okay, and this lecture will be interactive one. Okay, so I expect that you should also means answer few question which I ask you. Okay, so initially we will be starting with the research articles. So where to publish? So in this particular we will see that what are the possible publication avenues that you can discover. Okay, then we will be particularly targeting for a journal. Okay, that if I want to choose a particular journal, then what are the parameter that I should understand so that I can understand the quality of the journal. Okay, then I will also observe the research quality parameter of each individual author, or a you can consider publishing author. How you can judge that one particular publishing author is having a good reputation or not. Okay, another is a tip for writing a research article. So here we will be discussing completely on how you can publish a paper. Okay, what are the different parameters that you need to consider in order to publish the paper, and then we will see that writing tips, that what are the tips that you need to follow so that your article can be published in a good reputed journal. Okay, so ultimately we want to publish our article. Okay, so when we consider a publishing an article, then publishing an article can be done in either of one way out of two. Okay, whether I'm interested to publish an article into conference, and whether I want to publish an article into journal. Okay, so both has a different part. Okay, when I say a conference, then conference is being held at a one particular place. Okay, where my paper will be, conference proceeding will be available to different publisher. It could be on a Elsevier, it could be on a Springer lecture note, or it could be on IEEE. Okay, so there could be a way that this conference which is being held at a particular place, that conference proceeding nothing but the publishing article. So that publishing article could be available at which place. Okay, now that conference can be national or it can be international. Okay, so conference can be national, it can be international. Now typically it is being bifurcated according to the number of stakeholders which are being involved in that particular conference. Okay, so if we talk about the international conference, then for the international conference usually the stakeholder, when I say, that means the committee member, some of the reviewer, as well as the author. Okay, so around 10 to 20 percentage of the authors are from a various country. Okay, it is not being concentrated to only a single country. The reviewer, author, and even a committee member spread across the various country or region, then we consider that is an international conference. Okay, so clearly when a particular conference is being organized, the clearly it is being mentioned that whether it is an international conference or a national conference. Now depending upon your means choice, you can publish either in a national or an international conference. Okay, so usually you will observe that most of the conference are basically international. Okay, where they are targeting a committee member, author, and a reviewer across the various countries. Okay, so another way of publishing a research article is to publish an article into a journal. Okay, now when I think about publishing an article into a journal, then the journal category can be in of three one. Okay, first option is letter to editor. Okay, letter to editor is a short form of communication where I am intended to cover specific thematic area or a research to a editor. Okay, which we consider as the fastest way of publication. The reason is, here in a letter you have to be very specific. Okay, and every journal has a limit, and not all journal is basically supporting a letter to article. Okay, so you need to follow the journal guideline, where you need to follow that whether that particular journal is allowing a letter submission or not. Okay, so letter is typically 2 to 3 page article. Okay, where you concisely write out down your research finding. Okay, so that is a one way of publishing which we consider as the fastest way. Second is a review paper. Okay, when okay, when I think there is a echo. ओके, ये लैपटॉप ऐसा है तो उसमें भी ज्वाइन कर लो तो आई कैन सी द कमेंट. नहीं, आई वांट टू सी द कमेंट्स इफ आई आस्क समथिंग. ओके, okay, so ultimately means in a review paper, when I say a review article, then in a review article I am not proposing any new finding or research through methodology in an article, but what is being expected that in a review article I will review a certain number of paper. Okay, and from that certain number of paper I will find out some research gap, maybe key finding, or maybe there is a some sort of future scope regarding that particular field that I am proposing. Okay, so I believe that there is a separate lecture of having a review papers. Okay, that is there. Okay, so where the details will be discussed in that. And third one is a research article. Okay, when I say a research article, then in a research article type I am proposing some novel methodology. Okay, so most of the time your 80 to 90% of the paper falls in this category only. Okay, and most of the time in a journal the 80 to 90% submission are basically as a research article only. Okay, however, I am also considering that if there is a special issue which is being proposed, okay, that is also one kind of research article only. Okay, so there is another way also that there is a category of the special articles. Okay, but that I am considering it that special session is also pertaining to one particular theme, and where we are expecting a research article for that particular theme. Okay, so ultimately your research article is conference journal, where conference is national and international, and your journal is later either a review article or a research article. Okay, now I will talk about a conference. Okay, that what do you mean by a conference proceeding? Okay, so as I said that conference can be national or it can be international. Okay, but however, whenever you are considering any particular conference, the important parameter that you need to understand is a DOI. Okay, DOI stands for digital in a particular conference. It is being mentioned that DOI will be provided to each article. That means that that article will be published online. Okay, that every article will have a unique DOI. So your paper which will be published, that will be published online, and that online article is having a specific DOI. Okay, so according to me, if you either prefer a national or international conference, you need to think about that article or whatever the article which is being submitted, that each article should have a one particular DOI. Okay, so that is a basically a meaning of a having a DOI or online issue. Another is a conference having a only proceeding. Okay, so proceeding in the sense that there is a some sort of closed book kind of thing. Okay, where all the article will be collected and it will be available as a book, maybe in a closed environment like in a library or any kind of database. It is available. Okay, so it is not available online. This you consider is a offline, and in a offline it could be in terms of the book or a magazine type, that articles will be collected and it will be available into that magazine or book only. Okay, so that is a online proceeding. So usually means conference reputation is being identified by that if it is having a DOI. Okay, so usually all IEEE conference or whatever the means Springer conference, okay, they usually has a DOI. That means their article will be published online. So when article is being published online, it will be having a DOI. Okay. Now when we talk about a conference, either national or international, that conference can be categorized in a three subcategory. Okay, so international or national. Okay, here I have defined the bifurcation in international conference only, but it could be national also. Okay, but as we see that the nowadays all the conference are international only. Okay, so basically in that particular conference category, the three subcategories are there. One is a area specific conference, second is a generalized conference, and third is a multi conference. Okay, so what is the difference among them? Okay, so let's consider that the generalized conference. Generalized conference, that means a conference theme is generalized, which is appealing more than one field. Okay, like in a IEEE, there is a 10 con conference. Okay, so if you aware about the IEEE means society. Okay, so it is the largest society of electronics and electrical engineering. Okay, so in that the TENCON is one of the conference. Okay, so TENCON is a region 10 where our India is lying. Okay, so region 10 biggest conference. Okay, so that is a generalized conference. Okay, over there you expected more than 1000 or 1500 paper is being present across the 4 days. Okay, so that is a generalized conference where any electrical, electronics, or computer guy will submit the article. Okay, so that is a generalized conference. Then multi-conference. Multi-conference, that means a conference is having a more than one field overlap. Okay, and third is a area specific. So area specific is particularly targeting a one particular area. Okay, like ISCAS, so International Symposium of Circuit and System. So that is a one particular conference where only circuit and system paper are being accepted. Okay, which is one of the very good conference in VLSI. Okay, similarly design and test symposium. Okay, so these are a specific area specific. Okay, where a particular area people together and present the articles. Okay, multi conference, when I say that in a multi conference there will be multiple area which is being defined inside a one particular umbrella. Okay, so it could be one particular conference is for the electronics, one is for the computer, one is for the electrical. So here the multi conference, that means under a single umbrella the dates are same. Okay, maybe the venue and place are same, but here the three parallel stream are there which are running under the conference and you are publishing it. Okay, so according to me, if you want to gain a good knowledge or exposure of the conference, then you should choose an area specific conference. Okay, so if I am working on a biomedical, then I will go in a biocase only, that biomedical circuit and system. Okay, so that is a conference which is pertaining to only biomedical. Similarly, there is a one conference which is related to the only embedded system. So I will go over there only. Similarly, there is a VDAT is there. That is very well known conference for the VLSI people. Okay. So when you go for any particular area specific conference, then you will find out the people who are particularly working in that particular area. So over there, you will get area. So over there, through a design, you will get a better exposure. Okay. So that is the way that you can define it. Okay. Now think about choosing a journal. Okay. So now journal is mainly categorized either national or international. Okay. If it is a national or an international, again, it can have a DOI or non-DOI. I have already mentioned DOI. So that DOI concept is digital object identifier. That means each article is having a specific ID through which that article is being identified. Okay. So definitely the DOI based journal you need to prefer. Okay. Although there are few journals are there which actually publish the article in terms of the book. Okay. So for those articles, the visibility is limited. Okay. Because if you have written a good paper, then you want that the exposure of that paper or readability of that those paper should be good enough. Okay. So it should be available online so that anyone can access at any particular location. Okay. So that DOI based journal is one of the good preference that you need to choose out of this two list. Okay. Now that journal, whether it is a national or international, it could be categorized in a paid or non-paid category. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of the paid journal and a non-paid journal? When I say paid journal, in a paid journal, in order to publish your article, you need to pay the fees. Okay. So when I, as an author, make a payment to a journal, then that category is considered as a paid journal. So as an author, I am paying a publisher a fees so that my article could be published. Okay. And another is a non-paid journal. So in a non-paid journal, the publisher will publish your article without charging anything. Okay. However, when I say non-paid journal, in a non-paid journal, there is a option is there that you can make your article as an open access. Now here, this is a different one. Okay, that journal is providing you an option that whether you want to publish your article as an open access or it is subscription based. Now, what is the difference? That also you need to understand. Okay, for a journal, if I choose an article to be published as an open access, then open access article is those article which is accessible to everybody. There is no restriction. Okay. Anybody can view that particular article. So for those articles, visibility is large. Okay. And another category is subscription. So subscription based publishing means the people or you can consider institute who are having access of that particular journal or that publisher, those only can able to read a article on their system. ठीक है. So subscription में what will happen that it is a closed group, it is not open to all. Okay, maybe article title and abstract is visible, but article may not be visible to everybody. Okay, it is visible to only those who have a access or who have a paid a subscription fee to access those particular journal or a publisher. Okay, so that is a basically open access and a subscription based choice. So once you submit your article into a non-paid journal, then before publishing it, they will ask you whether while you are signing a copyright, okay, at that time there is an option that as an author whether you want to go for an open access or a subscription. If you go for an open access, then you need to pay some publishing charges. Now, for what? As I said that for a subscription based publication, they used to charge a money to an institute or a company or an organization where these articles will be accessible. But if you choose an open access, that means you are basically paying those charges, and with that you are allowing to access your article publicly to everybody. Now, what is the benefit of the open access? The first thing is the visibility is more. Okay, anyone can this particular article. If it is accessible to anybody, then there is a more chances that your article will be read or it would be cited. Okay, so that's why the open access is a good option, but as I said that you need to pay the fees for it, but that is not be considered to be a paid journal. Okay, it is the author choice who wanted to pay the fee. It is not compulsory. Okay, apart from that, there is an important category in a journal. Either it is a paid or non-paid, SCI and non-SCI. Okay, or oblique you can consider Scopus, Web of Science, whatever. Okay, so here this is a some list which is being prepared by one scientific group which has evaluated on a certain parameter whether this journal is of good quality or not a good quality. There are some parameter, okay, and there are some benchmark, okay, and a particular journal has fulfilled all those benchmark, then it could be considered into SCI category, SCIE, that is a SCI expanded. Okay, there is a Scopus database as well as there is a ESCI database. So all those databases are there. But in order to include your journal into those database, you should clear some indicator benchmark. Okay, if you clear those benchmark, then and then this journal will be included in that particular database. So usually SCI and SCIE is considered to be one of the highest quality journal in our engineering or academic institute. Okay, so this is all about the journal. So far, all good? Yes? Yes, participants. Now I want to know that how many of you have published an article in a SCI journal? Say yes or no in your chat box. If is there any question, then also you can ask. Otherwise, I expect all of you to write down that how many of you have published the article in SCI journal. Not published, Ankur. No issue. Okay, Somita, yes. Gopal Krishna, yes. Only 3 answer. So I can see that there are at least 40-50 people are there. Not published. Bharat. Okay. Gaurav Jain, no. Okay. So ultimately, we will be discussing that how you can publish. Okay. Ankur has a question that how can we know the indicating benchmark that our paper should satisfy to get the published in SCI? Okay. Hmm. I think Ankur, you are asking a question that how you can decide that your paper can be published in SCI journal or not. Okay, I believe that this is your question. Okay, because that is the journal headache, whether that particular journal is in a SCI or not. Okay, so for that there are some parameter. Okay, that being defined that journal should be of this much year old, this many citations should be having, this many impact factor that journal should have. So according to that, the means there are various database is there where a particular journal is being included. That slight discussion on that we will be discussing in our next few slide. Okay, but regarding how you can decide and how you can publish. I will talk around 40-45 minutes about how you can publish your article into a good journal. Okay. So Ankur, that discussion that we are going to go. Okay. So that discussion will happen in a short while. Okay. So let me go ahead. Now there is a another publication that I put over here is a archive. How many of you know about this word archive? Type yes or no. How many of you know this word archive? Okay. Somita say yes. Bharat say no. Gopal Krishna say yes. Okay. Ankur say yes. Okay. So archive is a open access repository of storing your e-print. You posting your paper over there. Okay. Now archive is publishing option, but you cannot compare archive with the journal or a conference publication. The reason is archive is a repository where article is being published after some preliminary check, but those article is not being reviewed by anybody. Okay. So in order to publish your article into archive, it requires only 2-3 days. Okay. For the archive means, since I have published few articles, so maximum it will take 3 days. Okay. Sometimes if your language is some sort of objectable, then it may take week or 10 days. But usually in an archive, your article will be published in a 3 days. Okay. So faster way of the publishing, but it is not a peer reviewed process. If it is not a peer review process, then I cannot compare this with the conference or a journal. Article is being published by a conference or a journal, then it is being gone through a peer review process. What is meaning of the peer review? That means there are some reviewers are there who has read the paper and provide the review of your article. But whenever you publish your article into open access repository, then there is no peer review happens. Okay. Now the question is, then what is the use of publishing an article into open access repository? Yes. Anyone has that doubt? Then why we need to publish our article into open access repository where there is no peer review? Okay. So ultimately with the archive, what will happen that you can publish your article because of some reason. Okay. So few of the reason that I know that I'm mentioning. Okay. And please consider me not as an expert of this particular field where I have published so many articles and I'm speaking on in front of you. Okay. I am just, you can consider the one of the author who has published certain number of article, and I am having some amount of experience. Okay, that I am sharing with you. Okay, so in an archive, you can or you may think about publishing of your article. The first reason is if you want your article to be published as early as possible. Okay. Now, sometimes I have find out some novel thing, and I am worrying about that somebody can easily publish that particular methodology. Then I could think about publishing early in the archive. Okay. So reason is कि within a week the article will be published. Archive will also give you the license. Okay. तो वो आपको ऑथरशिप देगा, वो आपको कॉपीराइट भी देगा. ठीक है. So when in a future somebody comes up with that particular work, then you can question them that this is my work and it is already being published in an archive. So that right is with you. Second is, sometimes if you observe that a particular journal is having a page limit. Okay. Usually when you publish an article in IEEE, then there is a page limit. But if it is a Springer or Elsevier, they don't have any page limit. But definitely IEEE is having some page limit. So now it could be a case that the paper that you have written, that is of a, let's say, 15 20 pages, okay, and I need to submit that in a particular journal, okay. So what I can do, that I can initially publish my longer version into archive first, okay, and when I submitting an article into that particular journal, I will write down explicitly in my cover letter as well as in the paper itself that this article is a shorter version of my longer version of the article published over here. Yes.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
I is repository. Connection broken. Okay. Share. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. I think my screen is visible now. It should be visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. Okay. Okay, okay. Okay. Huh. So it is an open access repository. Already being published. Okay. And that is a legal practice. Journal will not have any objection with that. Even in a many journal homepage, you will find out that they have written explicitly that preprint article are acceptable. Now, what do you mean by preprint article are acceptable? That means if you publish your article into open access repository, then also you can submit your article over here. ठीक है. The only thing is publishing rights will be there in with this publisher, whatever you have written into this particular article. Okay, so that is acceptable. PPT, I think it is not visible. PPT not visible. Why? Now it is visible.
Yes, sir.
हाँ, ठीक है. So that is meaning of the archive. Okay. So there are various kind of open access database are available where you can submit your articles. So biochemical, earth related, your medical related, your psychological related. So all these are open access database. Okay, where you can submit the article as a preprint. Now we will be discussing about article and paper. Okay, so there is a word which is interchangeably being used. Okay, some of them are using as a word article, some of them are using a paper. Okay, however, there is a clear cut not definition, but usually when I use a word article, then I am considering that that is being published or about to be published in a journal or a magazine. Okay, while paper word I am using which is respect to conference. Okay, as I said that the word can be interchangeably used. I can use a word paper also for the conference and article for the conference also, but this is the journal terminology that you will observe. Okay, when I say article, then it is basically subjected to mean related to your journal or a magazine, and paper is related to a conference. Okay, and research article is nothing but the original research which is being published in a peer review journal, and research paper is a original research which is being published in a either in a conference, okay, or it is being presented as an oral presentation or a poster in a conference. Now whenever you submit an article into a conference, then definitely you need to present that particular paper, then and then it will be published by that particular conference proceeding. Okay, it could be a case that your paper is being accepted, you have paid the fees also for that particular conference, but the conference organizing committee has a right to reject your paper to a publication if that paper is not being presented at the conference, either as an oral presentation or a poster presentation. Okay, so that is up to the particular committee. Okay, now we will discuss now how you can choose a journal. Okay, now what are the different parameters of that? Okay, so first database is SCI, Science Citation Index. Okay, and the similar word is Science Citation Index expanded. So both are same. Okay, so SCI is the initial list where there is a keep on addition happening, that we consider as a SCIE. Okay, so in a SCIE it includes more field journal than a SCI, but SCIE both are, you can consider is a of a equal weightage. Another is a Scopus one. Scopus is also one of the database, and fourth one is a ESCI. Okay, so out of four, the last one is that is a least preferred category. ESCI, Emerging Source Citation Index. Here E is coming first, and then there is a SCI. And here also it is source citation, it is not science citation. Okay, so don't be confused. ESCI is a probable list which could be potentially converted into Scopus first, and then after some time it remains in a Scopus, it will be converted into SCI or SCI, but there is no guarantee. Okay, so ESCI is also, you can consider preliminary evaluation parameter, where you find out that this journal can be potentially converted into the database of the Scopus or SCI or SCI, but there is no guarantee that ESCI journal is definitely be converted into Scopus or SCI. Okay, so that's why according to me that you should avoid ESCI category. Okay, still as I said that there is a potential, but there is no guarantee. Scopus is a second level, or you can consider a middle level quality journal. Okay, where there is a database, and that database is having a some list of journal, and the topmost journal database is SCI and SCIE. So your journal first comes into the ESCI, then from ESCI it will go to a Scopus, and after the Scopus it will be converted to the SCI or ESCI or SCIE. Sorry, E is last, so SCIE. Now all the journal which is in the Scopus index, it may not be converted into the SCI or SCIE, because there are more rigorous parameter to include that particular journal into SCI or SCIE category. ठीक है, तो sometime the journal lifetime also matters. Okay, कि कोई भी जर्नल अगर 2-3 साल पुरानी है तो वो SCI SCIE में नहीं आ सकती. फॉर SCI SCIE एटलीस्ट द जर्नल शुड बी 5 year old. ठीक है, तो आपने देखी होगी कि बहुत सारी जर्नल जो नई चालू हो रही है वो आपकी, इट कुड बी द केस दैट आफ्टर इनिशियल 1 year it will be in SCI category. After 2 years it could be converted into the Scopus, and then after 5 years it could be converted into either SCI or SCIE. ठीक है, but topmost category that we should target is SCI or SCIE. Okay, and again as I mentioned it, if E comes at the last, then that you consider that is the topmost journal. अगर E SCI है तो वो लिस्ट प्रेफरेंस जर्नल है, ठीक है. तो दैट यू कंसीडर. नाउ if my journal is in SCI or not, how I can verify? So there is a one group which is a Thomson router. Okay, so that is you can consider one organization. Okay, which have decided some criteria. Okay, and that is deciding that whether this particular journal is fulfilling those criteria or not. And if those criteria is being fulfilled, then it could be converted into SCI or SCIE. So if you search on a Google that's Science Citation Index by Thomson and Reuters, then you will able to search out all the journal list over here. Okay, so Thomson and Reuters is an agency which actually considering that whether a particular journal is SCI, SCIE category or not. ठीक है. तो साइंस साइटेशन इंडेक्स का आप वेब पेज पे जाओगे, सो उसमें देयर इज अ ऑप्शन दैट वेयर यू कैन सर्च इट वेदर दिस जर्नल इज अ इन अ दिस पर्टिकुलर डेटाबेस और नॉट. ठीक है. सो हाउ यू कैन डू इट, दैट इज basically define it over here. Okay, now there is another way is web of science. Okay, so that is a collaborate analysis. Okay, so collaborate analysis is a group which actually having a list of Scopus, ESCI, SCIE and SCI. जो मैंने 4 कैटेगरी बताई ना, वो चारों कैटेगरी की जर्नल आपको अगर फाइंड आउट करना है तो इस डेटाबेस में मिलेगी. ओके, सो दिस इज अ वेबसाइट. सो आई एम जस्ट क्लिकिंग दिस. ठीक है. सो यू जस्ट गो ओवर हियर एंड फाइंड आउट द नेम. ओके, जस्ट आई एम टाइपिंग, लेट्स से IEEE sensor letters. You just search it over here. You देखो IEEE sensor letter is emerging source citation index. E या SCI नहीं है. ठीक है. IEEE सेंसर जर्नल वो है. तो जस्ट सर्च इट ओवर हियर. सो IEEE सेंसर जर्नल देखो ये SCIE है. ठीक है. सेंसर लेटर ESCI है. फिर दूसरी भी कुछ जर्नल जो रिलेटेड वर्ड है उसको सर्च करके. सो हियर यू नीड टू पुट योर जर्नल नेम. दिस इज a basically climate analysis master journal list over here where you just write down your journal name and you will be able to find out कि ये HCI है. अगर आप सोशल साइंस डिपार्टमेंट है तो सोशल साइंस डिपार्टमेंट की कोई जर्नल होगी तो भी इंक्लूड करके दिखाएगी. आर्ट और ह्यूमैनिटी साइटेशन इंडेक्स में है तो भी दिखाएगी. सो दिस वे इट विल आइडेंटिफाई ओके कि आपकी जर्नल किस कैटेगरी में. Okay, now we will see how you can judge the quality of a journal. आपकी जर्नल SCI में भी बहुत सारी लिस्ट होगी, स्कोपस में भी बहुत सारा लिस्ट होगा, इवन ESCI इमर्जिंग सोर्स साइटेशन इंडेक्स में भी बहुत सारे जर्नल होगी. तो उस जर्नल को आप डिफरेंशिएट कैसे करोगे. ठीक है. सो फॉर दैट वन ऑफ द इंपॉर्टेंट पैरामीटर टू इवेल्यूएट अ जर्नल is a impact factor. Okay, now what is the meaning of the impact factor of a journal? Usually when you visit any particular journal you will find out a impact factor of a journal. Okay, specifically for a SCI and SCI category the impact factor, okay, whatever is being mentioned, that is being calculated by a Thomson and Router, because Thomson and Router having a one particular quality parameter is an impact factor to consider a journal in the SCI or SCI list. Okay, so impact factor is one of the important parameter to judge the quality of a journal. Okay, so what is impact factor? So impact factor is the average number of citation received for each published article into that particular year. Okay, so impact factor of each journal vary each year. So please ensure that when you use the impact factor word, that impact factor do change with the years. So impact factor of the 2025 is different, impact factor of 2024 is different, or impact factor of 2023 is different. Now, how the impact factor is being calculated? So for that, I have given an example. So example of 2025 impact factor of the journal, how it is calculated. So it is C by D. The formula is C by D. Impact factor of the journal equal to C by D. Now what is C? Frequency of the article published in a 23 and the 24 were cited by the index journal during the 2025. Okay. And D is a total number of journal published in that particular duration. Okay. So it is something like that in a particular journal. Yearly 100 article is being published. ठीक है? So that means for a 2 year 200 article is being published. Okay, so the total number of article D is 200. Okay, now citation of the article. Now what do you mean by citation of the article? Whenever a article comes under the reference list of the published article, then that I consider as a citation of an article. Okay, so when a particular article is cited, then I count as a citation of that article. So C is a citation of those articles. So that means 200 article is published, and for those 200 articles, 400 is a citation. Then the impact factor of the journal is 400 divided by 200, that is 2. Okay, so that means more and more citation, the impact factor will be increased. Okay, so if you have observed that some journal is having an impact factor 5, some journal is having an impact factor 2, some journal is having an impact factor 10. So how it is being calculated? The number of citation, and that is also according to the Thomson and Router. The formula is for the previous 2 years. ठीक है, तो इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर में 2 ईयर का ही आप कंसीडर करते हो. तो अगर 2025 का इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर कैलकुलेट करना है तो 23 और 24 के आर्टिकल पब्लिश कितने हैं और आर्टिकल का साइटेशन कितना हुआ है वो ही कैलकुलेट होता है. सिर्फ 2 साल का कैलकुलेट होता है. ठीक है, इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर के लिए. सो इसीलिए अगर मैं 2026 में करूंगा तो 2026 में 24 और 25 के आर्टिकल्स पब्लिश और साइटेशन आएंगे. तो इसीलिए आपका इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर चेंज हो सकता है. Now I hope that you are getting a meaning of an impact factor, and because of this reason impact factor of each journal do vary year by year. I hope you are getting this. Okay, now my question is, a good impact factor journal is a good one, or high impact factor journal is a good one? Okay, so question I have asked, type yes or no. Can I consider high impact factor journal are a good journal? High impact factor journal are a good journal. What is a high impact factor journal? कि जिसके citation ज्यादा है. Okay, Amit say yes. Yes, can I consider a journal with the good impact factor is a good journal? Yes, type in a chat box. I expect that you should be with me. Yes, what was my question? Can I consider a good impact factor value indicating a good journal? I am only seeing one answer from Amit. Yes. Where are others? I hope you understand what is impact factor. Total number of citation divided by total number of article published for a previous 2 years. That is the impact factor of my current year. Okay. So can I consider a good journal is said where it is having a good impact factor? Good journal is equal to good impact factor. ये क्वेश्चन जो मैंने पहले पूछा था उससे अलग है. पहले मैंने पूछा था हाई इंपैक्ट फैक्टर जर्नल कैन आई कंसीडर अ गुड जर्नल, तो आपने बोला यस. नाउ माय क्वेश्चन इज कैन आई कंसीडर गुड जर्नल इज इक्वल टू गुड इंपैक्ट फैक्टर? यस, आई एक्सपेक्ट आंसर. If a journal impact factor, let's say, not necessary. No. Very good. Okay. So it is not a vice versa case. ठीक है. हाँ, जिसका impact factor good है, that journal I consider is a good journal. But reverse way नहीं है कि good journal है तो उसका impact factor भी good ही होगा, high ही होगा. ठीक है. Because some of the areas are there where articles are very limited. Okay, and here also impact factor is depending upon how many article is being published. ठीक है. कुछ जर्नल एक साल में 100 आर्टिकल पब्लिश करती है और कुछ जर्नल एक साल में 20 आर्टिकल ही पब्लिश करती है. सो डेफिनेटली देयर इज अ डिफरेंस ऑफ अ साइटेशन ओवर देयर. ठीक है. सो इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी. कई फील्ड है, कई जर्नल है जिसके इंपैक्ट फैक्टर लो है, बट स्टिल वी कंसीडर दैट इज अ गुड जर्नल. ओके, इट इज डिपेंडिंग अपॉन अ फ्रीक्वेंसी of a publishing article of that journal, and apart from that how many people working in that particular area. Sometime in some of the area the people are not much working. Okay, so for those journal the impact factor is very low. Okay, so there is a journal IEEE transaction of computer architecture. ठीक है, or even IEEE transaction of circuit and system. So it is a number 1 journal in a VLSI field, but its impact factor is 2 and 3 only. Okay, and some of the AI journal where impact factor is 5, 10, even more than 10 is there. Okay, so you cannot compare the people who are working in AI field and you cannot compare a people who is working in a VLSI circuit. Okay, so impact factor may vary because that depends upon how many article being published and how many article is being cited. ठीक है. Now choosing a journal regarding the impact factor. So if you go for any particular journal, then impact factor is visible, but ensure that impact factor whatever is being mentioned, most of the time it is being mentioned with the year. Otherwise you need to consider this impact factor is for the present year only. ठीक है. And as I said that impact factor may vary for a year. So impact factor देखा, eigen factor. Okay, so eigen factor is also one of the important parameter to identify the quality of the journal. ठीक है. so eigen factor को समझने के लिए आपको क्वार्टाइल ऑफ द जर्नल समझना पड़ेगा. what is quartile of the journal? Okay, so quartile of the journal is basically divided either 1/4. हम जानते हैं व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ द क्वार्टाइल. क्वार्टाइल ऑफ द ईयर तो हम क्या करते हैं, तो पहले 3 मंथ इज द फर्स्ट क्वार्टाइल, देन 4, 5, 6 मंथ इज द सेकंड क्वार्टाइल, 7, 8, 9 is a third quartile, and 10, 11, 12 is a fourth quartile. So similarly for the journal also the quartile is being defined according to the field. Okay, so if I am talking about electronics and communication, then electronics and communication field or that particular branch is having a, let's say, 1000 journal. So for those 1000 journal, first 25% journal, that means which comes from the 1 to 250 is considered as a Q1 journal. Then second 251 to 500, okay, that is a Q2. Then 51 to 75 is a Q3, and 76 to your 100. So that means 751 to 1000, that comes under the Q4 quartile. Okay, now some journal can have a multiple quartile also according to the field. Okay, so just to give the example, तो IEEE ट्रांजेक्शन, ये एक जर्नल है, IEEE ट्रांजेक्शन ऑन सिस्टम मैन एंड साइबरनेटिक्स. आई एम जस्ट ओपनिंग दिस. ओके, सो SCI मैगो वो भी एक डेटाबेस है जो आपके क्वार्टाइल को डिफाइन करता है. ठीक है, सो दिस इज IEEE ट्रांजेक्शन सिस्टम एंड साइबरनेटिक्स. अगर आप देखोगे तो ये जर्नल इन पर्टिकुलर फील्ड में आती है. कंप्यूटर साइंस एंड एप्लीकेशन में आएगी, कंट्रोल एंड सिस्टम इंजीनियरिंग में आएगी, इलेक्ट्रिकल एंड इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स इंजीनियरिंग में आएगी, ह्यूमन कंप्यूटर इंटरेक्शन में आएगी, इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम में आएगी, मेडिसिन में आएगी और सॉफ्टवेयर में आएगी. ये जर्नल इन सारे कैटेगरी की जर्नल के डेटाबेस में इंक्लूडेड है. लेकिन अगर आप देखोगे तो यहां पे जो कलर है, अगर ग्रीन कलर है तो Q1 का है और येलो कलर है वो Q2 का है. तो आप स्पेसिफिकली देखो 2000 ईयर में ये जर्नल Q2 में है, सिर्फ Q1 में ह्यूमन कंप्यूटर इंटरेक्शन में और आपके मेडिसिन में. क्यों? क्योंकि वो लिस्ट के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है कि वो लिस्ट में वो कौन से नंबर में आते हैं, और वो कैसे हम करते हैं उसके इंपैक्ट फैक्टर से. जब ये डेटाबेस क्रिएट होता है तो उसके इंपैक्ट फैक्टर से, जिसका हाईएस्ट इंपैक्ट फैक्टर होगा वो नंबर 1 पे होगा, और जिसका लीस्ट इंपैक्ट फैक्टर होगा वो लास्ट नंबर पे होगा. और ऐसे लिस्ट प्रिपेयर होता है और उसमें जो टॉप 25% है वो Q1 में, नेक्स्ट Q2 में, फिर Q3 में और Q4 में, ऐसे होता है. ठीक है, तो काउंट अलग अलग हो सकता है. दैट मीन कि कंप्यूटर साइंस में हो सकता है कि 500 का ही लिस्ट हो, तो उस 500 में अगर 250 नंबर पे आ रही है तो डेफिनेटली वो मेरे Q2 में होगी. और अगर वो सेम जर्नल इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स ऑन कम्युनिकेशन के 1000 के लिस्ट में 250 में आ रही है तो वो Q1 पे हो. ठीक है, सो दैट वे अ पर्टिकुलर जर्नल अकॉर्डिंग टू द फील्ड में कम एज अ Q1 और Q2. तो Q1 और Q2 भी आपके रिलेटिव है. ठीक है, नाउ आइगन हम इस स्लाइड पे हाँ, आइगन फैक्टर स्कोर जो है वो कैलकुलेट किस बेस पे होता है? वो आपके जर्नल का जो साइटेशन है वो कौन सी जर्नल में साइट हुआ है उसके ऊपर है. अगर वो Q1 कैटेगरी के जर्नल में हुआ है तो उसका वेटेज ज्यादा है. अगर Q2 में हुआ है तो उसका वेटेज थोड़ा कम है. Q4 में हुआ तो उसका लीस्ट वेटेज. तो वो आपके आर्टिकल साइट हुआ है उससे मतलब नहीं है, लेकिन आर्टिकल कौन सी जगह पे साइट हुआ है उससे मतलब है. ठीक है, तो ये हो सकता है कि मेरा आर्टिकल 100 बार साइट हुआ है, लेकिन वो 100 बार में से सिर्फ Q1 जर्नल 10 ही है. तो आइगन फैक्टर के कैलकुलेशन में वो Q1 के टाइम पे उस वेट से मल्टीप्लाई होगा, बाकी के 90 के लिए कंसीडर नहीं होगा. अगर वो Q2 में है तो फिर उसके वेट से मल्टीप्लाई होता है. तो ऐसे आइगन फैक्टर स्कोर कैलकुलेट होता है. उसमें क्या करता है कि हम सिंपल साइटेशन नहीं कंसीडर करते, साइटेशन कौन सी जर्नल में हुआ है वो कंसीडर होता है, और दूसरा सेल्फ साइटेशन. ठीक है, कि मेरी जर्नल है, जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया IEEE सेंसर जर्नल, तो IEEE सेंसर जर्नल का IEEE सेंसर जर्नल में पब्लिश आर्टिकल में साइटेशन हुआ है तो वो सेल्फ साइटेशन रिमूव होता है. सेल्फ साइटेशन जर्नल का कंसीडर नहीं होता. ठीक है, सो दिस इज अ मोर रिगरस पैरामीटर टू फाइंड आउट द क्वालिटी ऑफ द जर्नल. ठीक है, पर इंपैक्ट फैक्टर या आइगन फैक्टर दोनों में यह है कि हायर वैल्यू इंडिकेट्स अ गुड जर्नल, बट लोअर वैल्यू डजंट मीन दैट दैट जर्नल इज नॉट गुड. ठीक है, okay, as I said that it depends upon what is the frequency of the publishing article and as well as how many times the citation happens. Okay, I hope this one is clear. Now how to find out the suitable journal? Okay, if you want to identify your suitable journal, then journal finder is an option. आप कोई भी पब्लिशर ले लो, एल्सीवियर ले लो, स्प्रिंजर ले लो, IEEE ले लो, every publisher has a journal finder. You can simply type on a Google Elsevier Journal Finder, Springer Journal Finder, Taylor and Francis Journal Finder, or IEEE Journal Finder. It will go to a one particular website. Over there, you can put your abstract and title or maybe keyword. Then, according to those details, this journal finder will find out appropriate journal for that publisher, which could be your possible avenue, because many times you don't know where I need to submit a journal. So definitely when you are writing some particular article, then you know that what could be the tentative title, what could be the tentative abstract, or what could be a brief overview of the paper, and keyword. So through these three things, you can find out the appropriate journal of your article. Okay, but that will vary according to the publisher. ठीक है, तो आप ये कर सकते हो. सो दिस इज फॉर द एल्सीवियर. फॉर द एल्सीवियर जर्नल फाइंडर, एज आई सेड दैट, टाइटल लिखना है, पेपर एब्स्ट्रैक्ट करना है और आपको कीवर्ड लिखना है. ठीक है, तो दिस इज. और इवन यू कैन हैव अ फिल्टर. ठीक है, कि आपका इंपैक्ट फैक्टर कितना है, टाइम टू पब्लिकेशन कितना है, टाइम टू फर्स्ट डिसीजन कितना है, वो भी आप चेक कर सकते हो. ये आपका IEEE पब्लिकेशन रिकमेंडर है. ठीक है, दैट इज ऑल्सो सिमिलर थिंग where you can just upload your document, or maybe you can write down a title or a keyword, then it will gives you idea. Now another important database is the LetPub journal finder. Okay, so मैं इसको open करता हूँ. LetPub journal finder is also one of the very good database where you can find out a journal initial information. Okay, this is a database which is being created by a user itself. Okay, जिसमें आपको पता चलेगा कि इस जर्नल की इनिशियल इंफॉर्मेशन क्या है, और समटाइम्स द ऑथर और रिव्यूअर ऑल्सो पुट देयर कमेंट्स ओवर हियर. ओके, तो मैं आपको एंड कंट्रोल. ठीक है, जब आप लिखोगे बायोमेडिकल का स्पेलिंग मैंने गलत लिखा है. बायोमेडिकल सिग्नल प्रोसेसिंग एंड कंट्रोल. नाउ आई थिंक इट शुड सर्च. देखो, बायोमेडिकल सिग्नल प्रोसेसिंग एंड कंट्रोल, उसका एच इंडेक्स में आपको बताऊंगा. साइट स्कोर भी आइगन स्कोर की जैसा ही है. ठीक है, यहाँ पे लिखा है टर्न अराउंड टाइम 3 मंथ्स. दैट मीन्स कि यूजुअली ये जर्नल 3 मंथ्स लेता है. ठीक है, इसका रेटिंग 3.8 है. ठीक है, पर जब आप इसको क्लिक करोगे तो इसमें इनिशियल इंफॉर्मेशन आएगी कि अगर कंप्यूटर साइंस कैटेगरी है तो ये 16 रैंक है आउट ऑफ 183. सो कंप्यूटर साइंस कैटेगरी में, सिग्नल प्रोसेसिंग सब कैटेगरी में टोटल 183 जर्नल है, जिसमें इसका नंबर 16 है. ठीक है, कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस इजी है. एवरेज पीयर रिव्यू टाइम इज 3 मंथ. ठीक है, फिर ये बेसिकली आपका पबमेड, मेडिकल रिलेटेड आर्टिकल इस पर्टिकुलर डेटाबेस में जाते हैं, तो वो उससे भी रिलेटेड है. ये आपके SCIE स्कोपस इंडेक्स है. पब्लिशिंग फ्रीक्वेंसी क्वार्टरली, डेट मीन 3 मंथ में पब्लिश होता है. एल्सीवियर पब्लिशर है, इसका ISN नंबर वगैरह है. इसका सेल्फ साइटेशन डिफाइन किया है. इसका ओपन एक्सेस परसेंटेज, डेट मीन्स कि कितने आर्टिकल ओपन एक्सेस होते हैं. डेट मीन आउट ऑफ 100 8 आर्टिकल इज ओपन एक्सेस. ठीक है, ये 2006 में हुआ है. फिर ये जर्नल का स्कोप क्या है वो आपको बताएगा. फिर ये SCIE में कौन से क्वार्टर में है, इंजीनियरिंग बायोमेडिकल में Q2 क्वार्टर में है, इंजीनियरिंग बायोमेडिकल में SCIE में ये Q1 क्वार्टर में. ये दोनों अलग अलग डेटाबेस से जनरेट किए हैं. ठीक है, फिर उसके रिलेटेड दूसरे जर्नल जो है उसका कंपैरिजन के, उसका एच इंडेक्स और साइट स्कोर कितना है. और यहाँ पे आप ये देख पाओगे कि इसको यूज करके यूजर ने क्या अपना फीडबैक दिया. सो ये बताता है कि एज ए एडिटर आई हैव इनवाइटिंग ओवर 30 पीपल बट ओनली 6 हैव एक्सेप्टेड द रिव्यू इन्विटेशन. सो हाउ आई डी मैनेज. ठीक है, so this is one of the way. यहाँ पे एक आठा ने लिखा है कि मैंने मार्च 23 में एक्सेप्ट किया। यहाँ पे दूसरा भी कहीं पे आपको यहाँ पे यूजर के फीडबैक मिलेंगे, ठीक है। कई बार यूजर लिखते हैं कि मैंने इस आर्टिकल को इस टाइम पे सबमिट किया, उसका एक्सेप्टेंस इतना है, तो यू विल गेट सम आइडिया अबाउट दिस पर्टिकुलर जर्नल, ठीक है। कि यहाँ पे लिखा है कि मोर देन 50 सबमिशन आर रिसीव्ड बाय जर्नल एवरी डे विद एडिटर, इट टेक्स अबाउट 35 to 45 डे टू मेंटेन द स्टेटस एंड द चीफ एडिटर शुड ओनली हैंडल अ पोर्शन ऑफ द मैन्यूस्क्रिप्ट एवरी डे। तो ये एक यूजर है जिसने लिखा है, देखो यहाँ पे ये लिखा है एक कि अप्रैल 225 में सबमिशन किया, दिसंबर 225 में मेजर रिवीजन आया, फिर उसने रिवाइज आर्टिकल जनवरी 15 में सबमिट किया, फिर फरवरी 13 को माइनर रिवीजन आया, फिर 14 को फिर से साइड माइनर रिवीजन आया, और 15 को ये शायद एक्सेप्ट हो गया, और फिर ये मार्च 3 को पब्लिश हो गया, ठीक है। सो दिस वे यू विल एबल टू सी अ यूजर feedback about this journal, so that will give you some sort of idea, okay. So it is not necessary this is the most relevant one, but as a author I am interested to know about the journal and the review process, okay. So this you can easily identify this particular database, okay. I will explain in English, okay, sorry if okay. So this is a journal finder, which I consider it is a one of the good way to just identify about the journal information, ठीक है। Now another is to assess the quality parameter of a particular author, okay. So for that there is a Google Scholar profile of each and individual author, so this is for just mine, ओके। सो अगर आप देखोगे तो इस पर्टिकुलर, मैं आपको शायद लिंक ही दिखाता हूं, गो टू गूगल स्कॉलर, ठीक है। तो गूगल स्कॉलर में आप आर्टिकल भी गूगल स्कॉलर में माई प्रोफाइल भी आता है, और अभी माई प्रोफाइल में शायद ये मैं किसी और का कर रहा हूं, अमित एम जोशी प्लस MNIT, ठीक है। अमित एम जोशी MNIT का प्रोफाइल ये क्यों नहीं आ रहा है माई प्रोफाइल में, और आपको यहाँ पे आपको गूगल स्कॉलर का प्रोफाइल मिल जाएगा, ओके। हर एक ऑर्डर का मिल जाएगा। मेरे लैपटॉप में वो होता है, पर यहाँ पे मैंने दूसरे का लैपटॉप यूज किया, पर आप गूगल प्रोफाइल उसका ले जाओगे, ठीक है। और मैंने इसका स्क्रीनशॉट अभी यहाँ पे अटैच किया, ठीक है। सो हियर इफ यू जस्ट ऑब्जर्व दैट देयर आर सम पैरामीटर विच यू कैन ऑब्जर्व ऑन अ ईच एंड इंडिविजुअल ऑथर प्रोफाइल। एक है साइटेशन। नाउ साइटेशन आई थिंक यू अंडरस्टैंड, ओके, कि वॉट एवर द आर्टिकल इज बीइंग पब्लिश बाय मी, उसके साइटेशन 2959, ठीक है। एच इंडेक्स एंड ITN इंडेक्स, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, ठीक है। पहले I10 इंडेक्स समझते हैं। व्हाट इज I10 इंडेक्स? I10 इंडेक्स इज if a particular article is cited 10 number of times, then my I10 index is increased 1, okay. So if my I10 index is 1, that means my one article is being cited by a 10 journal article, okay. यहाँ पे I10 index 70 is, that means possibly I have published an article around 184, okay. So out of 184 article which I have published, out of which 72 articles have been cited by a 10 paper or an article, okay. So that's why my I10 index is 72, ठीक है। And there is a H index. Now what is H index? H index defining n number of article is being published n number of times, okay. So H index is totally different compared to the impact factor. H index आपके ऑथर का भी होता है और जर्नल का भी होता है, उसके लिए डेफिनेशन सेम है, ठीक है। सो इट इज a measure a research or scientific performance based on his her research publication and a lifetime citation. So if I consider H index is 10, then if 10 article has each received at least 10 citation, ये मैंने 91 नहीं, ये 10 आना चाहिए, ठीक है, मेरे गलती है. So ultimately, when I have a H index 29, so that means I have published total 184 article out of 29 article which are being cited at least 29 times. तो देखो, पहला एक आर्टिकल है जो 213 बार साइट हुआ है, दूसरा 144 बार हुआ है, फिर तीसरा है वो 112 बार हुआ है, ठीक है. सो 100 के ऊपर 4 आर्टिकल है, पर मेरे 29 आर्टिकल है जो 29 बार एटलीस्ट साइट हुए. सो दैट इज अ एच इंडेक्स, ठीक है. और एच इंडेक्स किसी जर्नल का भी हो सकता है, ठीक है. सो दैट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ एच इंडेक्स ओवर हियर. नाउ we will be discussing about writing a good article. Okay, so till this point, possibly in a 1 hour or 1.5 hour, I have covered about where you can publish your article. So we have taken a what is the quality parameter, what are the way you find out that where you can publish it. Now the second question, how you can publish it, how should you write down the research article. Okay, again, okay, now till now if any question is there, I would be more than happy to answer. Then I will give you some glimpse about based on my experience. Again, I am saying I'm not an expert, but based on my experience, how you can write down the article so that it can be easily published in a good journal. Okay. So if you have any question, please let me know. So in that way, I can also have a 2-minute break. Any question? No, 2-minute break. रहने दो, मैं चालू कर दूंगा. Or I am just kidding that if they can ask the question, then it give me some pause. That's only. Yes, no question. ये तो अच्छा है. अबाउट नेचर जर्नल. ओके, नेचर भी एक डेटाबेस है, ठीक है, वो स्प्रिंजर से है, ठीक है, तो वो भी एक है. अनफॉर्चुनेटली आई हैव नॉट कवर्ड इट, बट थैंक यू केशवा, पॉसिबली आई विल अपडेट एंड आई विल. बट नेचर इज अ बेसिकली कम्स अंडर द स्प्रिंजर. ओके, सो नेचर जर्नल is one of the highest, okay, where the impact factor according to the Thomson router is maybe 30 or even more than that. Okay, so that is one of the very topmost journal database. Publishing in conference better or in a journal is better? Aditi, I prefer a journal. Okay, not I, but usually a journal publication is considered to be better one. That is a in general perception. Okay, however, there are few conferences are there where publishing a article in a that particular conference is tougher than a publishing an article in a journal. Okay, but in general, I say that publishing an article in a journal is a better one. ठीक है, because in a conference overall it is much easier because that is not much peer review pressure. Okay, because usually in a conference the review process has to be completed in a 1 or 2 month. Okay, in journal there is a no deadline. Okay, it is something like that. If means it will take 3-4 months, then also it's not an issue at all issue. Even as an editor, I can invite some more reviewer to comment on this. Okay, so that's why possibly in a journal it is slightly difficult and better in the sense for your academic growth. Definitely I consider that. Coffee hai? Chai hai? Chai nahi hai. So I consider a journal is a better one. Okay, now we will see what are the tips of writing a good article. Okay, So कई बार हम पेपर लिखते हैं तो our situation will be like this. Okay, so no need to be like this. We will discuss how you can start and how you can publish the article. Okay, so usually, okay, Indrajit has some question. So I will take last question. Okay, then we will move ahead because I have a 40-45 minutes still content to cover. What are the possible ways to improve the citation? Even if an article is published in a journal with an impact factor about 10, the citation of that particular paper are not improving. See, Indrajit, that is depending upon, as I said, that is depending upon individual article. ठीक है, तो maybe means that article is not that much of appealing to a research community. That's why it is not a having a citation. Or maybe if you want to improve it, then as I said that citation could be improved if it is available to read more people. So open access is one of the way to do it. Otherwise, that article preprint, you can put it in your archive. So that is also possible. Okay, so being an archive article, the visibility will be more. ठीक है, and apart from that, definitely whatever the content is there, if it is more appealing, then it could be improve it. But as I said, that depending upon that whatever the article which is being written in that particular field, how many people are working for that particular topic, that also being deciding factor, that whether that article is being cited more number of times or not. Okay, now publishing process. Okay, so first of all, you need to go for a research idea. So in what idea you want to publish a paper, and second is you need to go for a literature review. Okay, for that particular research idea, whatever the article which are available in a various database, that you need to find out. Then you need to understand the methodology, that what methodology that you want to adopt in order to fulfill your research idea. Then if it is related to the data, then you need to go for a data collection and you need to go for a data analysis. Then after having all this, you can start manuscript writing. Okay, when at the same time you need to identify a journal, that what is the possible journal where you want to submit it. Then it will go to a peer review process. After the peer review, you will get a decision. If your article is good enough, then most of the journal give you a second chance of the revision. Even though if it is rejected, they will allow you to have a resubmission. So you will go for a revision, address those comments, and again submit those articles into same journal, and then finally it could go lead to a publication of your article into journal. Now what are objective? So you need to understand high impact journal is a good one, so that you can choose. Learn the publishing process. So ultimately, whenever you think about publishing your article, first of all, according to me, you choose a journal and then you should start writing an article. Okay, many times the students used to write down the article and then they will search for the possible venue. But according to me, I feel that you first choose the venue and then you should write down your article. Then this way actually it will help you to improve the acceptance probability, and all definitely you need to follow some sort of ethical publishing standard for that. So that we are going to discuss. Now, if you publish your article into high impact factor journal, then it is for academic reputation. And as I Indrajit asked, that if it is a high impact factor journal, then it is most likely that the citation could improve, because it will give you the indication कि impact factor अगर 10 है, so that means एक article 10 बार तो cite होता है 2 साल में. ठीक है, so this is a overall impression. Okay, so high impact factor journal, definitely one of the indicator you can choose it, that will enhance your academic reputation. Of course, the promotional and career growth. If you are the PhD student, then your PhD completion could be easy if your article is being published in a good high impact factor journal, your global research visibility is there, and there is a high citation impact of publishing an article into high impact journal. Now, characteristic of publishing in a high quality research journal. So you should have a novel research gap. Okay. You should have a strong theoretical foundation. Your methodology should be rigorous enough. Your data analysis, that means performance parameter, is adequate enough to prove your foundation or your research idea. And finally, whatever the result that is being obtained, for that you need to give some sort of practical implication. Okay. So identifying a research gap, how you can identify a research gap? Well, that is one of the very important parameter for publishing in a high quality journal. So to identify the research gap, you need to go for a recent literature review. Okay. So that's why I always ask my students to concentrate your literature review in the last 5 years. Even if you search on a Google Scholar, there is a filter where you can identify a range of a year. So if I am currently in a 2016, so I should ideally read a paper from 2021 to 2026. So last 5 year paper is a good window where you can identify a good literature and identify the research gap. I am not saying that before 10 years, 15 years article is not good. Okay. But it could be slightly outdated. Okay. So that's why usually 5 years is a good window to identify a research gap from a recent literature. Identify the limitation on the previous study. That is very important. So once you read a one particular paper, so from that paper you find out the good finding and what could be the research gap that are limitation of this particular paper, that you should identify. Find some unanswered research question which are available. So most of the time at the journal there is a future scope. Okay, sometimes it is combined in the conclusion section. So that future scope definitely you need to read out so that you can identify some sort of unanswered research question which actually helpful to start your PhD. Okay, but for that, as I said, that the research article should be recent one. Okay, so that will give you a more chances of having a one particular research idea which is novel. Develop a unique contribution, that is very important. So selecting a right journal, that is a very important. So match your journal scope. I have already defined some of the way through which you can find out your right journal. Your database where it is being indexing, World of Science, so that is a all four, ESCI, SCI, Scopus, all can review recent publication. Okay. So sometimes whatever the article that you have read it and your idea is matched to this, then I usually prefer to submit your paper into that journal itself. If some work you have identified and where you have some improvement delta, okay, then try to fix a journal same where you can compare your work and you can provide your contribution that I have improved this performance parameter this much. Okay, and check the impact factor and the review time. Improving acceptance probability at the journal. So first of all, the strong literature has to be there. Okay. Then robust data analysis. Your writing should be clear. I will explain in more detail how you can write it down. And important thing, follow the journal guideline. So that's why I insist you first decide the journal and then you start writing. Okay, so that will give you a clear cut mindset that what is the expectation of the journal and which guideline you need to follow in order to your paper can be accepted in that particular journal. Okay, publication ethics. So possibly everybody knows that you should avoid the plagiarism, you should have a proper citation, no duplicate submission. Preferably if you submit your article into one journal, then wait for a result of that particular journal. Don't submit your article simultaneously to two journals. Okay, so that is my personal opinion. Please do not do that. Ethical data collection. So ensure that if you are working, let's say in a biomedical field, then data collection has been done through a ethical manner, because many journal in a biomedical field will not go your paper under review until you prove that the whatever the data collection is being generated, that is ethically clear. Okay. Now there are some research tool which can help you. Okay, for the reference management, Manley and Jotero is a two reference management tool. I believe that that will be covered in this particular workshop. Okay, data analysis tool is SPSS, R and state. If you want to analyze your data in some of the statistical parameter, okay, then these are the tool that you can use it. Grammarly, definitely to verify your grammar. So every paper, if you submit it, then I insist you should first check the grammar through a Grammarly. Okay, most of the time institute do have a subscription of the Grammarly. At least for the MNIT, we know that we have a this subscription where every students and teacher can go through a Grammarly and verify that grammar check. Okay, then turn it in for the plagiarism. So target the journal early, align the research with the journal theme, and prepare the manuscript carefully according to guideline. Okay. The common reason while paper is being rejected. Okay. The first reason is your research gap is very poor. And important thing is methodology. Whatever is you are proposing, according to your proposing methodology, your paper will be sell into a particular journal. So you need to ensure that whatever the hypothesis that you prove with the methodology, it should be clear cut. Okay. लो थियोरिटिकल कंट्रीब्यूशन. ओके, आपका कंट्रीब्यूशन अगर एक पर्टिकुलर फील्ड में लिमिटेड है तो वो जर्नल कई बार एक्सेप्ट नहीं करता. कॉन्फ्रेंस में आपका 5% 10% इंप्रूवमेंट चल सकता है, लेकिन जर्नल एक्चुअली रिक्वायर्स और सब्सटेंशियल इंप्रूवमेंट. ओके, पुअर एकेडमिक राइटिंग. ओके, आपका ग्रामेटिकल सही नहीं है, आपका सेंटेंस फॉर्मेशन सही नहीं है, so that is also one of the reason. And journal scope mismatch. So most of the time you have observed that you submit your article into a journal and it is being desk rejected. That means कि आपका आर्टिकल रिव्यूअर के पास तो पहुंचा ही नहीं, एडिटर ने अपने एंड पे ही डेस्क रिजेक्ट कर दिया. अभी डेस्क रिजेक्ट करने का एक सिंपल रीजन है आउट ऑफ स्कोप. ठीक है, बट पर्सनली इफ योर पर्टिकुलर article is find out of scope in a 2-3 journal, then there could be a issue with your article, not with the journal. Okay, if you change the venue, then the outcome will remain same. Okay, so over there this initial benchmark is being verified by an editor. और अगर ये बेंचमार्क आपका सेट नहीं होता है तो एडिटर रिव्यू प्रोसेस में जाएगा नहीं, it will be desk rejected. ठीक है, so ensure that this is good enough. Now responding to reviewer writing, there is a separate section is there, so I am not going in details for that. Now when you should write a paper, okay, so you should have something important to share in terms of the new idea, new facts, or if it is a survey paper, then intelligent review of the old fact or idea. Then you should think about writing a paper. If you are proposing something, then it is expected that you should have a mature result where your research objective is being completed and your article has a clear cut problem statement along with the solution and how you have contributed towards that particular solution. Okay, if this portion is clear at your end, then possibly you think about writing a research article and publishing them into a journal. Okay, when you should not write a paper, okay, this is very important. You should understand the wrong reason. Okay, in a previous slide we observed a good reason to write an article. Now here, what are the not good reason or wrong reason? So first is want or need a publication. Of course, being a PhD student, there is a peer pressure on you that you need to publish the article, but not only just for the publication. If you have a this, whatever is being mentioned in this particular slide, if you have this parameter or benchmark, then and then you can think about of publishing an article. If you don't have, then try to achieve that particular benchmark first and then think. Increase publication count. ठीक है कि मैं 5 पेपर 10 पेपर अपने पीएचडी आई वांट टू पब्लिश 5-10 पेपर एटलीस्ट इन माय पीएचडी ड्यूरेशन. So it is not like that. Okay. Quantity doesn't matter. Only quality matters. Fame. Okay. So of course, fame should be outcome. It should be a fruit of your publication. It is not your objective. Okay. Publish or perish. Peer pressure and want to go to a conference. Okay. Last is a reason, could be good one. Okay. कि हाँ भाई, I want to go for a Thailand. So there is a conference in a Bangkok. I will go it. Okay. But ensure that whatever you are writing, it will be going to be published. So you should be proud of whatever you have published. Okay. And people should also consider that it is worthwhile to read. It is not like that I want to go to a Bangkok, so that's why I am publishing this article and I am writing in a haphazard manner. You should clearly have some sort of finding, and as I said that you should proud of what you have published. Okay. Bad paper work will reflect you badly on you throughout your life, and currently there are so many paper are retarded. ओके. रिटार्डेड का मीनिंग क्या है कि वो पब्लिश हुआ है, उसके बाद उसको मीन्स उसको पेपर पब्लिशर ने निकाल दिया है. ठीक है. सो देयर इज आर्टिकल इज बीइंग पब्लिश, बट देयर आर सम इश्यू विच इज बीइंग ऑब्जर्व. आइदर देयर इज सम सॉर्ट ऑफ डुप्लीकेसी or there is some sort of another issue, and because of that, either it could be a plagiarism. So because of that, the paper can be retarded. Okay. So as I said that you should be proud of whatever you have published about your paper. Okay. What is the method of pleasure? You should go to a library, decide the subject matter, follow the certain order, type of the source material from where you are reading, write down the information, then you can start writing a paper. How to write a research article? First of all, you choose your topic clearly, what you want to write. Your title can be tentative initially. Of course, title can be finalized later on, but you should decide that what could be the theme of your paper. ठीक है. You should make a working outline कि how your paper will looks like, how many section you have, what you want to cover. So everything should be clear. Third, you gather the relevant material in order to develop your research gap. तो आपको लिटरेचर रिव्यू करना है. That I said that कि आपको लास्ट 5 ईयर के पेपर तो निकालने ही है. And ensure that if you identify a particular journal, then do search out in that particular journal database about the relevant paper of your theme. This will give you a certain advantage. First of all, you should include them in your literature survey. You should include them in your reference section, and you can include them in your cover letter also. So editor cannot do a rejection, desk rejection, simply mentioning that it is out of scope. Already few article is there being published, so this cannot be rejected by a out of scope. Okay. So that's why you should read the relevant paper in that journal. Definitely you compose your research paper, write your first draft as freely as possible. So forget about page limit, forget about how it will looks like. Your first draft is as whatever comes into your mind, you write it down. Okay. And then start on containing few things. So revise the first draft from its initial content, and finally go over strength to research paper. Then you contain whatever is relevant to that particular paper and containing them. Okay. So motivation, why write? So motivation I already talk about. Okay. Now what could be the outline? Okay, so in the next 15 minutes, okay, I will be discussing about how you can write down in the paper and what should you write down inside the paper. Okay, so first thing is title. So title initially you can decide. However, according to me, the final title you should decide after completion of the final draft of your paper. After completion of the final draft of paper, you should look back to your title and reflect that whatever is being written inside the paper, whether that title is relevant or not. Okay, so it is basically acts as a gateway to its content. First thing potential reader of the paper see before deciding to move on the abstract or the full text is a title. Title should introduce the subject matter in a clear and concise manner. So whatever you have written inside your paper, that is should be reflected in the title. Usually take a lot of care in choosing an appropriate title. Title is also one of the very important parameter whether that particular paper will be available in your database as early as possible. Citation, क्योंकि साइटेशन के लिए विजिबिलिटी होनी चाहिए. आपने जो काम किया, वॉट एवर द वर्क दैट यू प्रपोज and whatever the title is there, so ultimately through a title only the paper will be searched and the people will read that particular work. So if your title is not proper, then also the visibility may suffer. So title should summarize the idea with the fewest possible word. Okay, so there could be a two kind of title. One is a nominal title, another is a compound title. Now, what is the meaning of nominal title? Nominal title where 80 to 90% paper lies. So it is something one of the title of my paper I have written. Okay. FPGA prototyping of the video watermarking for ownership verification based on H.T6 for AVC. So this is a clear cut. You can consider one sentence. Okay. Where clear cut objective is being defined. Now, when it is a compound title, then you will observe some sort of dissimilarity between two phrases of the word. Okay. So here in a compound title, quantization index modulation, that is a classy of provable good method for a digital watermarking and information hiding. So here you just observe it. There is a first phrase of word quantization index moduling, and there is a second phrase of word. Okay. So, however, they both are correlated. It is not that they are 180-degree apart. But this kind of title is also is acceptable. Okay. Title of your paper is the most important. How the people will read it. A good research paper title contains the paper content in a few words, capture the reader's attention. Okay. So, first thing that reader will do is read your title. Okay. Differentiate your paper from the other subject area. इवन इफ इट इज अ कॉन्फ्रेंस प्रोसीडिंग में सबसे पहले आपका टाइटल आता है. ठीक है. इवन दो इन ए जर्नल का भी वॉल्यूम्स होता है, वो वॉल्यूम के इंडेक्स में योर टाइटल इज कमिंग. सो योर टाइटल इज वेरी मच इंपॉर्टेंट. ओके. शुड नॉट बी मोर देन 12 to 15 वर्ड्स एंड ऑलवेज योर फर्स्ट लेटर is capital in your title. Okay, so it is, and avoid the title like study design of analysis of. Okay, these are considered to be a filler. Whenever I writing a paper, then definitely I have done some study, I have designing something, that's why I am writing a paper. So these are considered to be a filler, analysis of. Okay, so avoid this kind of word in your title. Okay, unnecessary, it is not conveying the meaning, not adding any meaning into your title, and unnecessary, it is increasing the length of the title. Okay, so you should avoid such kind of filler word. Okay, and avoid question marks and explanatory mark in a title if possible. Okay, now abstract. What do you mean by abstract? Okay, abstract is your first impression. I used to review a lot many paper. Okay, throughout a week. Usually, I accept or reject the paper after reading an abstract only. Abstract is your first impression, and people will say that first impression is last impression. Okay, so you should write down the abstract very carefully. Abstract is the only thing which comes in a conference hard proceeding. आप कोई भी conference if you attend, then there will be hard proceeding. You will not get all the paper in that particular booklet, but only abstract, title and authors are there. And abstract will give you the indication that what is there inside the paper. So you should consider the writing of the abstract very carefully. So abstract should have a concise description and short summary of your complete research with the clear cut problem. Don't write down a generalized thing in your abstract. Okay, because many times when I review the article in the abstract, if it is a let's say 15-line abstract, 8 line is a generalized thing. Okay, and then actually the problem it is being defined. Okay, see, if you want to accept your paper, then one thing you need to understand, that reviewer is not getting money to review your paper. Okay, so you need to help the reviewer to understand more clearly and more early that how he can take a decision of your paper. So that's why whatever you are writing in an abstract, which is the first thing which reviewer read, it should be concise and a good enough. It should have an overview of your methodology. आपने जो problem define किया है उस problem and whatever the methodology that you have adopted to solve that problem, this should be clearly defined. Apart from that, your finding and contribution should be part of your abstract, and their abstract should be some sort of creative, so that there is some sort of curiosity will be built up in order to read whole paper. Okay? If there is no good thing or some general observation is written inside the abstract, then it will clear the lesser interest of a reader to read the paper. Okay, so there is some sort of curiosity should be developed while writing in a abstract. So it should be simple and effective. So in general, what are the things that you need to cover in the abstract? According to me, the 4 point: motivation, problem statement, your method, approach which you have adapted, your finding. Okay, many times the people are not writing finding. No, it is not acceptable. Abstract may whatever you have achieved in terms of the result, that you should include in a 1 or 2 line. Okay, and finally, what is the implication of that result and finding? Okay, where it can be applicable and how it can be useful, that also should be part of your abstract. Okay, so even though abstract is a first part of your paper, but you should write down at the last. Okay, you should write down it soon after finishing the other section, while rest of the manuscript is fresh in your mind. And usually abstract is in a 250 words, which is on an average on a paper, or if you are writing for a journal, then abstract should be around 12 to 15 lines, not more than that. Okay, kai bar people used to write down the 1 page abstract. Okay, so that is not an abstract. Now keyword is very important. Okay, now possibly many times you observed it, why journal is asking a keyword, why I need to write down the keyword for a journal. Okay, so keyword is the word through which the potential reviewer is being identified. Okay, so whenever you submit your article, so at that time for the author they will ask you your area of expertise, where you choose some of the keyword. So if those your expertise keyword is matching with the keyword of your article, then you can be a potential reviewer. So that is very important. Whenever you are writing a keyword of your article, then we are taking it most of the time casually. Please do not take it casually. According to me, this is a very important part, because if your keyword is matching with your reviewer, then ultimately the outcome of the paper will be defined. Okay, so sometimes I write down some casual word in a keyword which has a no relevance inside my manuscript, then it could impact your outcome of your paper. Okay, so that's why please choose the keyword. 5-6 keyword should be good enough. Don't write down 10-12 keyword. 5-6 keyword is a Good one. Okay. And you are interested to write down a keyword in alphabetical order. Ideally, whatever the 5 6 keyword that is you have defined, write down in alphabetical order. Okay. And there is no full stop after any keyword. Now we talk about title, we talk about abstract, we talk about keyword. Now how to write down a manuscript. Okay. So first thing is an introduction. Okay. So when you start your introduction, then you start about defining a problem. First 3 4 lines should be attention grabber. It is something like that. Let's say that I am writing a article for a diabetes. Okay. Then in a first few line, I will define that how much bigger impact of the diabetes this is in the world. So there has to be some attention grabber or hook grabber sentence in your first 4 line. Okay, that will develop interest of a reader as well as a reviewer. ठीक है? Then straight away you should discuss about the problem you are intended from this attention and what is the solution that you are proposing. Okay, sometimes what people make a mistake, they write down one whole paragraph where they write down a generalized thing, and whatever they want to cover, they start from the second paragraph. Okay, so nobody will like it. Okay, ultimately as a reviewer or as a reader, I want to straight away know that what is being written inside this particular paper, what problem is being solved, and what is the methodology it is being adapted. So according to me, in first 10 lines you should include your problem and your methodology clearly inside the paper. Okay, then it will increase your probability of the acceptance. Okay, because if you do it later on, then it will actually create a losing of the interest of the reader. And as I said that reviewer is also one of the reader. So you need to ensure that you writing it properly. And objective of the paper and research contribution should be clearly defined inside your introduction session. So introduction is considered to be a roadmap of your rest of the paper. Start by some question or some survey. It covers the most motivation and the describe the problem. Related work can be also part of the introduction, or you can have a separate section also. And finally, you will summarize the structure of the paper. Ideally, your introduction could be 1 or half page. Please do not write down the introduction of 5 pages. So I am talking about single space. Okay. If it is a double space, then you need to consider accordingly. Okay. But introduction should be short enough for a 1.5 page, not more than that. Okay. So ensure that. Literature review. So according to the literature review, you should identify pertaining to your problem, ideally 3 to 12 paper. And from those paper, you need to identify the answer of this question. What is being written in this particular paper? How the particular problem is being solved? And what is the outcome and finding of this? Also, you find out the research gap which you identify inside the paper. And then in your paper, try to write down how you have overcome. Not necessary. All 12 paper outcome you have overcome, or all 12 paper limitation you have overcome. Out of this 12, you identify some of the research gap, and out of that research gap, which you have contributed and how you have overcome it. Not necessary that all the research gap is being addressed by your paper, but you should clearly indicate that which are the research objective is being contributed by you in this particular paper. So ideally, I feel that you should write down a one separate paragraph of your contribution. It should be clearly visible to a reviewer and a reader. And I expect that you should write down with the number. Your contribution is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is easier way to grab the attention of a reader for a paper. Okay. So that is the meaning that you can do. Then the proposed work. So proposed work is clearly define your methodology, your contribution, your proposed work should have a diagram, flowchart, or a algorithm steps, because this is the main section which differentiate your paper with the other papers. It could be a case that one particular problem is solved by 10 papers, but this 10 papers methodology section is a different one. And methodology section, instead of writing long paragraph, if you can write it down in terms of the diagram, flowchart and steps, which is easily visible, okay, then it can be easily explained by you to either a reviewer or a reader. Then result. So in the result section, you should write down which are the tools that you have used in order to derive the result. Whatever the data set that you have basically use it. What is the outcome of your result with the quantified value? See, don't write down your result that your performance is better. No, it will not work. You should quantify it. Whether the performance is improved 10%, 20%, 30%, whatever is there, that should be clearly quantified. So your quantified parameter is the important one of your result. Then you need to compare your work in terms of the quantified parameter with the previous work. Ideally, if you have chosen a particular journal, and as I said that, go through that particular journal, and if particular article that is available similar to your work, then try to compare your work with those particular previous work. Okay. And important thing is, merely comparing or putting a table of comparison will not justify your contribution. You should justify the result and ensure that whatever the result is, that is properly justified. Now it is not always that whatever I have computed, or whatever the parameter is being calculated, that is giving the best out of them. It could be comparable also, it could be in between also, but you should justify that how this can be contribute into a research community. Okay, it is not necessary कि आपने 10 पेपर के साथ कंपेयर किया है तो आपका पेपर का काम वो बाकी के पेपर से हाईएस्ट ही रिजल्ट दे रहा है. ठीक है, इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी. पर अगर वो कुछ कंपेयर, हाँ, लोएस्ट नहीं होना चाहिए, सब में लोएस्ट नहीं होना चाहिए, अगर मिडल में आ रहा है, then also you need to justify that how it can be contribute towards the research field. So result, that means not always best. Okay, please consider this. Okay, conclusion and future work. So in a conclusion or a future work, you should clearly write down what is the problem which is being addressed, what is the research objective that is being achieved, and how your proposed work is withstanding with the other works. Okay, how your work is being withstanding with the other works, and finally the usage and application domain. And apart from that, you can write down 2-3 lines of the future work. Ensure whatever your conclusion of the work, it should be larger than the future work. Okay, कई बार I have observed that the paper में contribution conclusion 4 लाइन का होता है, लेकिन future work 10 लाइन का होता है. It is also not a good way of writing. Okay, ideally you should have only few of the research objective which is being unaddressed, because whenever you write it down as a future work, then that is you are not being able to cover in this article. Okay, so restrict your future direction or a future work in a 2-3 line max. Okay, not more than that. Okay, and your contribution should be more than whatever is being written as a future work. Okay, now regarding the plagiarism, I think means already means there is a one lecture from the Turnitin is being covered, so I'm not going with that, but definitely you should check your plagiarism by Turnitin and ensure that whatever the acceptable limit, so usually you will get it in a Turnit with the indicator. If it is at 20% or less than 20%, then acceptable. Okay, but more than 20% is not acceptable, excluding your bibliography. Okay, bibliography section is excluded. Apart from that, 20% is a good enough. Okay, so don't do a cut paste kind of, unless it is some famous quote. If it is a famous quote, then definitely you need to go for a cut paste. But with that, you need to refer them. Okay, so that is important. So publishing in a journal, in a reputed journal. Okay, so this is a longer part. Okay, so you need to cross this hurdle. Those are the reviewer, maybe your supervisor, and then finally the paper can be accepted. Okay, so you need to cross this hurdle where so many are there to punching you, but you need to keep patience and do your honest work. You will be definitely able to finish your cross line where you will get the acceptance. Okay, so choose your journal wisely. Read the scope of the journal carefully before submitting a paper. Read the guideline. Please include the cover letter, even though it is optional, but I request to include the cover letter. In the cover letter, also clearly indicate your contribution, and if possible, in the cover letter, you just write down the reference of the article which is already being published and you have included into your paper. Okay? Then wait for ideally 6 to 18 weeks. So typically 3 months. Okay, 3 to 4 months, because this is the general tentative period where the review process is being completed. Then the decision. Now decision could be favorable, not favorable. Most of the time, okay, decision at the first attempt is not favorable. So don't dishearten. If it is a good journal, then you will not get a first decision and acceptance. Okay, it could be a major revision. Okay, but that is the path through which you can reach to the accepted. ये आप मान के चलो कि ये जो 4-5 लोग खड़े हैं ना, वो उससे आप पास हो रहे हो, तो वो ऐसे नहीं जाने देंगे. Ultimately they will hammer you. Okay, so you need to withstand, you need to keep patient and review the comments and then accept the good outcome. ठीक है. So SCI Mago list. Okay, this is the list that is being identified. Okay, so you just see the country. Okay, I think this is possibly a 6 month back screenshot that I have taken. But if you just observe India, India is at the 7. Okay. So being an Indian, the one of the thing that we have observed, that we are not appreciating our Indian research community very well. Okay. We are not actually citing them. Okay. The good country like USA, China, if you just observe them, their research article where they cite the paper, most of them are their own country. Okay, so in that way it will help our country to also increase or push into this particular ladder. Okay, so of course we have a very good potential as an Indian to be a researcher, so be generous. I am not saying forcefully you add, but if somebody is working good and if it is your country, then please do cite them. Okay, and try to be generous enough. Okay, so with this I am ending of my session. Sorry I have exceeding little bit of more, but possibly I take a liberty that we have started a lecture maybe 10-15 minutes after, so that's why it took me maybe 15 minutes more. But I am open for a query right now. If you have any query, then I will be more than happy to answer those. माँ, मैं पढ़ भी नहीं पा रहा हूँ. क्या है? हाँ, ओके. ये ऊपर न्यू मैसेज निकाल दो. हाँ हाँ हाँ, एक बार नीचे जाओ. आई एम रीडिंग योर क्वेरी. ओके, इफ इट इज अ क्वेरी देन. हाँ, इंद्रजीत की तो आ गई. ये किसने की है? इंद्रजीत ने ही की है. सर, इफ आई पब्लिश एन आर्टिकल विद 4 ऑथर where I am the third author, the first author is my friend, the second author is your corresponding author, and the fourth author is the another contributor. Once the paper is indexed in a Google Scholar, all 4 authors receive citation credit. If any issue arises, the editor usually contact the corresponding editor, and all of us work together to resolve them. If the article is retracted, it affects all the author equally. However, in academic evaluation system such as API score or annual increment, significantly more credit is given to the first or corresponding editor. Is this fair? What is your opinion? देखो, I am not in the policy maker. Okay, but ideally, the first author should be a made lead contributor. Now, first order may not be a corresponding order. I usually insist a supervisor to be a corresponding at her. Okay, why it is a reason? क्योंकि देखो स्टूडेंट्स है ना, एक बार चला जाता है ना तो उसका आर्टिकल ही विल wind up that particular research. Okay, but corresponding order to whom all the query is to be raised. ठीक है, so corresponding research according to me should be a supervisor. Okay, regarding contribution, definitely if it is a one of the listed order, he has made the contribution, maybe 5%, 10%. So when a paper is being retarded, then all four, because even though it is a 1% contribution, there is a some percent of the contribution that you have made it in this particular article, and for that article it is being retarded. So all four having a equal, you can consider the catchy. Okay, regarding the evaluation, this is the way that currently people are considering. The first order is the main contributor, and there has to be. Okay, there has to be a first order can be a main contributor, or sometimes I have observed it in some of the means supervisor, they consider that them as a first order. Then also it is good enough. Okay, but the first order should be a lead contributor. ठीक है, and that is a clear cut understood. ठीक है, so this is the way that generally people are perceiving. तो अभी परफॉर्मेंस पैरामीटर भी उसी से डिफाइन किया है. ठीक है, तो उसमें आई कैन नॉट से मोर, बट if you are submitting, then ensure that if you have contributed or you are the lead contributor, you should be your first order. That's what I can say, and that is my opinion. कहाँ कौन ने पूछ, किसने पूछी? ओके, हाँ हाँ हाँ. Okay, so basically see, when you are doing some sort of writing with the AI content, okay, see, to take the help of the AI tool is good. I am not considering that as a bad. Okay, but that is only serve as a helper, not a lead contributor. Okay, आप AI content को as it is आपके पेपर में नहीं रख सकते. टर्निटिन भी AI content को पकड़ लेता है. ठीक है, so don't consider that put as it is content generated from the AI tool into your particular article. If you just observe the AI content, easily one can easily perceive. If you are experienced enough, then you can easily perceive from that content only this is being written by AI. Okay, so don't put the AI content as it is in your article. Maybe that AI content you can use as a reference and try to reframe the sentences by your own. Not put those AI content as it is into your article. Definitely you can take help of some AI tool. I think Maipal Jadeja sir is taking care of that portion. Okay, so he will give you the clear cut idea how you can make use of them. Okay, but don't rely 100% on those particular things. They are just your helper. Okay, so please ensure that you can use them for helping purpose, not for copy paste purpose. Okay, so that is what I can say. Yes, any question? Any question? कोई question नहीं है. Very good.
Should I acknowledge the AI tool?
AI tool? I don't think so we should do that, because we are taking help only. I haven't done that. Okay, so the question is which asked by Surendra, that can I acknowledge the AI tool? If you have taken a substantial help, then possibly, according to me, you should do that. You should do that. You should do that.
Sometimes Grammarly also use some kind of AI to
Huh.
read our. So that's why So should we acknowledge that we have taken the help of Grammarly to improve my grammar?
No issue. You can write it down in an acknowledgement section that this article is being verified through a Grammarly and updated according to that. Even I have seen some article where people have acknowledged the Google that I am thankful to Google through which I can able to find out all the database which is relevant to this. So you can do that. There is no harm with it. Understood the publication process. Sir, thank you. Hope whatever I want to convey, that is I am able to convey. Any other doubt? Okay, last 1 minute. After that, maybe we will close our session. So last 1 minute is there. If any question is there, then you can type in a chat box. Else we can end our session. नहीं हुआ ना? Okay, thank you all of you, and best wishes for remaining part of the workshop. Thank you. PPT है ना, इसको PDF में करके फिर